and welcome everyone. I'm Laurel Garcia, the Senior Director of Continuing Education at the Texas Public Charter Schools Association. And today we're going to hear all about using AI tools to support principals from our speaker, Jeremy from Pivot Leaders. But before I turn it over to him, I just have a few of my regular reminders. So if you're looking for the handout for this session, it was uploaded into Charter Central, the same place where you registered for this webinar. You're going to return to the course listing, click on the title, and all the webinar details, including the handout, will be located there. Also, Jeremy will share his contact information at the end. So if you have any remaining questions, you can reach out directly to him to ask them. Once this webinar has concluded, you can return to Charter Central to complete a survey as well as a quiz. After you answer all of the survey and quiz questions, you can then download and print your certificate for watching this webinar. And with that, I have finished all of my reminders, so I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Laurel, we're so excited to be here, and my organization has done a lot of work over the past few months to support school leaders on implementing AI tools to help save them some time and increase productivity at their schools so that they can flex to doing the most important work as school leaders, which is driving achievement and building relationships with their school community. So thanks for everybody for being here and joining us on the webinar. This is all about using artificial intelligence to support principals, particularly around practical tools, guardrails, and time saver moves. And this session is really designed specifically for charter school principals and assistant principals who are curious about artificial intelligence. They may already be experimenting with it, or they're trying to figure out how to use it responsibly without adding more to their plate. So I'm really glad for those folks showing some interest in this, and I think that it's going to be very helpful in helping you build some capacity around these new technologies. Let me just introduce myself first and share some of my background. My name is Jeremy Jones. I'm a dad. I'm an ultra endurance runner. I went to Texas A&M. The proudest member of the Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2004. And then I went to law school at the University of Arizona a couple of years later. But professionally, I've spent my entire career in education. I started out as a Teach for America Corps member in New Orleans. Worked to support Yes Prep's growth during their first big phase of growth in Houston, and then launched the Democracy Prep schools in San Antonio. I've also led state authorizing work in both Tennessee and in Maine, and I ran a network of schools in Arizona. I think all of that experience really shapes how I think about artificial intelligence as a tool that should really support school leaders and not distract from the real work that should be in front of us, that magic that happens between student and teachers. So also about our organization, we are called the Pivot School Improvement Leaders, and at Pivot we partner with schools to strengthen their leadership and accelerate student learning. We believe that principals and leadership teams are the single most important lever for sustained improvement over time, and our work focuses on leadership coaching grounded in real work, professional learning for leaders at all levels, and support for strong instructional systems and team culture. Our approach is simple, but it's really disciplined. We build trust, we focus on a few high leverage routines, and we practice consistently to drive lasting change. So if you're interested in the work that we do or interested in partnering us, you can find out more at the end of our session today. But let's talk about our plan for this session. So we want to make sure that by the end of this, you should be able to self-assess your current level of AI proficiency, understand clear guardrails and ethical expectations for AI use in schools, because that's a really murky area right now. So we want to dive into that and give you some guidance. We also want to identify some high leverage principal tasks that artificial intelligence can support with immediately. So we're talking about like tomorrow, you can use some of these things. And then we're going to use some strong prompts to save time without compromising your professional judgment or your relationships. So those are the things that we're going to accomplish today. I think most importantly, you're going to leave with one concrete next step that you can try this week. So this is really practical. We're going to get into some of the abstract sort of ethical things. We're going to get into some guidance. We're going to look at some examples, but we want to make sure that like you leave being able to have some additional skills in your tool belt here. Our agenda, and we're going to move through quickly because it's a recorded webinar, and you can go back and listen to it again and share it with teammates. But we're gonna move pretty briskly here. We're gonna do a quick self-assessment on where you are with AI. We're gonna talk about guardrails, ethics, and risks. We'll look at some practical uses and some use cases for principals. We'll do some guided practice and examples, and then talk about some common challenges and how to kind of get over those common challenges. And then we'll close and make some commitments. So that's the direction that we are headed over the next few minutes here. So I think first and foremost, what's important to call out here is like, what do we mean when we say AI? AI is kind of a broad term right now, and it's really an umbrella term and can serve all manner of technology tools. Artificial intelligence can include technologies that do a lot of different things. In this session, we're talking about one specific branch of artificial intelligence, and that is chat-based tools powered by large language models. These tools help principals draft, organize, and think through information more efficiently, but they don't replace professional judgment and decision making. Large language models don't think. They don't have reasonability. They can't process the same way that we process through complex challenges, and they don't make decisions. They predict language based on patterns. And that's why they're great for emails, agendas, summaries, practice scenarios. And it's why they're not great at appropriating decision making or doing discipline calls or evaluation or anything that requires judgment. So that's something to keep in mind for us today. Also, as you dig into some of the tools, these are chat-based tools. And so it is like having a conversation with somebody. The more that you are at depth at having conversations, the better the tool is going to be for you. And so keep that in mind as well. Now, you may be using a lot of other technology at your school. Maybe it's IXL, maybe it's other platforms that students are using, and perhaps those technologies are building AI capacity into those tools. That's something completely different than what we're talking about here today. So just keep that in mind as we work through this. Another key thing that I want to mention here at the beginning is like, what does compliance mean in the state of Texas? So currently, there are no AI specific statutes. And I put yet in parentheses here because we don't know how the state legislature is going to provide guidance, particularly for schools around this. And so that's something for us all just professionally to be aware of and to monitor. But also know that these things exist under current law, right? So FERPA still applies. Data privacy expectations are still guidelines for us, and certainly Educator Code of Ethics still applies to this as well. And something that's really important, I think, especially as educators think about how to process data or how to better communicate through AI tools, we need to ensure that the conversations we're having with our chat tools are de-identified from specific humans, that these things exist in draft form only, that you're not publishing exactly what your AI chatbot is spitting back at you, and that they are always reviewed by humans before they go out to an external audience. I think our key message here around the compliance piece and the legal frameworks is that AI is not changing the rules. And it just requires us to apply them more carefully. So that's something that I want you to keep in mind. And if you need additional guidance, I would suggest reaching out to a legal expert to help you with that. Hmm. So first, I want you to take a second to just sort of think through like what best describes your current comfort level with AI. Now, the range here can be pretty broad and vast, but I think typically folks are going to fall in one of these four categories. So they've never used it, they've tried it once or twice, they use it occasionally, or they use it weekly. Now, even within there are different spectrums too. So if you are using it on a regular basis, this session is still for you because we're going to teach you how to refine those skills a little bit better and become more proficient with these tools. So wherever you are, sort of take a quick assessment of where you fall. This session is for everyone who falls anywhere on this list. But I do want to also create some depth here. So when I think about AI proficiency levels for school leaders, I think about folks in these four categories. So level one is what I might call an explorer. These folks are really curious about AI and how it can support them, but they're unsure on where to start. They may be cautious about messing up or doing things wrong, or they may just not be using tools at all. So that's our explorer category. Level two, I would say these are our users. These folks are drafting and brainstorming through AI tools. Their results might be inconsistent because they're not refining their process, and they're still figuring out like how to best prompt our chat tools to give them the best outputs. Our level three are our strategic users. These are folks who are using AI intentionally for recurring tasks. They're really verifying the output, then they know how to control the tone, audience, and format. And then our level four are experts. These are folks who are integrating AI into their leadership practice. They use AI to protect their time for instructional leadership. They model ethical use of AI, and they teach staff how to think with AI and not just use it at basic levels. Now, the important thing here is the goal is not to rush across this. There's no benefit to us to say, like, I got to get to level four by this time next year. This is a practice. It's going to take time to explore the tools and know that the tools are constantly evolving as well. So the goal is not to rush, but to move intentionally through some stages here. So clear guardrails for principals, I think, is essential. These guardrails, I would say, are non-negotiable. AI can be used for drafting communications, summarizing de-identified data, planning agendas or PD, and generating practice scenarios for instructional coaching. AI should not be used for final decisions about students or staff. They shouldn't be used for discipline determinations, for IEPs or confidential records, or anything that you might not say aloud in a hallway in a school or want to say in a courtroom. So just keep those things in mind. These are the important rules to remember. De-identify everything. AI drafts, humans decide, and verify before you send and share. So these are our guardrails. I would say that if you're just getting started, these are important lessons to keep in mind. So again, just reinforcing that we want to de-identify things, we want to draft and then maintain our ability to decide and then verify before you send externally. Now, there are some key things that are going to save you time, and this is where we get into the meat of our work today. These are all principal time savers, and I've included four here. The first one is drafting communications. And when you think about the role of a school leader, like your job is to communicate in ways that motivate and influence other people. And so this is like a majority of your job. And you probably spend a lot of time thinking through parent communications, staff communications, and maybe some family newsletters or some student newsletters that you have. This is a huge opportunity to save you some time. We'll talk through some examples here, but I can also share a personal example that I could look back at my staff notes that I would push out every week. I would take all of those old drafts, I would upload them to an AI tool. I would say, hey, get to know how we communicate with our staff, learn how we do it, and then help us draft future communications. That's a pretty sophisticated way to refine your communication strategy at your school. But this would be an opportunity to save yourself anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours a week where you could be doing other things. Our second time saver is around organizing and summarizing information. Whether it's attendance trends, interim assessment results, or walkthrough notes, it's a big opportunity for principals to, to gather the information, to upload it, to ask AI to help make some sense of things, and then to provide some summaries. I think when you look at complex information, whether it's in interim assessments or walkthrough notes, like it's going to be able to like pull out some key themes for you and keep your focus on the instructional priorities for your school. So I look at this and I say, again, this could save me anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours a week. So now we're aggregating your time savers to really allow you to flex to other needs in your school building. Our third time saver here is just around preparing meetings. If you're anything like me, I would spend an exhaustive amount of time preparing for meetings because those were precious and sacred times in our school where we had to make really critical decisions about how we were going to sustain achievement and increase our instructional efficacy on campus. And so I think these three areas around staff meeting agendas, leadership huddles, our follow-up trackers could be really key if you're somebody who like anguishes over preparing meetings, which is what I did. And this could save a lot of emotional energy, but also could make sure that you're saving time to actually have the right conversations as opposed to putting these agendas together. Our final principal time saver here is around designing adult learning. I have found the chatbots that we use really effective in creating role play scenarios. So it takes a lot of the thinking and working out of what we have to put together for our teams at Pivot, and we're able to come up with these scenarios that are really effective in real time so that folks can practice. We can also plug in feedback practice. So we can create scenarios within our chat structures that allow us to role play a scenario and then tell the chat function what happened in that scenario, and then have it provide us some feedback about where we can continue to push ourselves. And then also around coaching conversation prep. So if you are walking into a high stakes meeting with a teacher or maybe an instructional leader, this is going to help you organize your information and have really great conversations about how to push instruction forward. So those are already four time savers that can, save a significant amount of time throughout your day and your week as a school leader. Let's talk about the tools here because there are certainly plenty there. And, I think this is a pretty noisy area, and some folks don't know the value of the tools. If you've already chosen a tool and you like it, I would say stick with it. If you are just beginning and need to choose a tool, I would probably suggest a Chat GPT. It's flexible, it's got the easiest learning curve, and it's like you can start this today. Now, there are levels of Chat GPT that are free. There are more expensive ones that you can buy memberships to if you want to. That's all going to determine your ability to upload documents, the number of projects that you can have going in your chat, all of those sort of complexities. But I would say if you're just starting out, there's no reason why you can't just download the app or get on the browser and start doing some chats with ChatGPT. If needed, you can add some other tools here. You might use Claude for long documents, which is really helpful. You might be on the Microsoft platform, so Copilot for different things in your tech stack or your environment, and perhaps Gemini if you're operating in the Google environment as well. I think the key thing here is that one tool used really well is going to beat out four tools used properly. And basically, these tools all do similar things. The difference is just how you incorporate it into your daily workflow. So don't get caught up into, which one is the best. Just be thinking about like what is the easiest for you to grab and start to move with. Let's look at some examples. So these are our three, use case scenarios, and we're going to look at some appropriate uses of AI here. So first is around drafting a parent communication. Now, AI helps generate a calm, clear first draft here, but the principal is going to edit it and own the final messaging. So you can see on the left side is our scenario. A principal needs to send a message to families about an upcoming schedule change due to testing. This is certainly something that happens quite often in your context. This message needs to be clear, calm, supportive, and the principal wants to avoid any confusion or unnecessary anxiety. We are all focused on attendance. We want kids at school. We don't want to scare families away. And so that's the situation. We want them to be at school so that they can demonstrate what they've learned. Now, the principal can use a chat-based AI tool like a chat GPT to draft our first version of the email. In this process, they would specify their tone. They would set some constraints. So they might talk about word count, and family-friendly language. And then when it comes back to the principal, they're going to review, edit, and personalize the message before sending it because they think that they need to make that personal connection with their community and maintain that as strong. And so they are going to scrub it for that language. Now, the key part here is our part in our light blue box down here. There's no confidential student information that's included in this dialogue with your chat tool. AI is used for the drafting, not the decision making, and the principal remains responsible for the final product. So this is an appropriate use of AI here, and these three rules help guide us through the decision making on AI. Our next use case here is preparing for leadership team meetings. Our scenario is that a principal is preparing for a weekly leadership huddle and has this information. They've got attendance data, they've got interim assessment results, they've got walkthrough notes, and they want a neutral summary to help their team interpret some patterns. Now, the principal is going to use AI to de-identify all of the data, so no student or teacher names are included in their discussion with the chatbot. They're going to ask their chatbot to summarize patterns only, not causes or solutions. Because what AI can really be good at is pattern seeking, but they can miss certain contextual clues or not have all of the information, and they might draw conclusions that are not actually accurate. So you want to ask for summaries of patterns, but you don't want to ask for solutions because it might give you some phantom information, and you would have to cross-check that information to make sure that it's actually accurate. So summaries of patterns are good. Solutions are not great here. The principal also wants to request discussion prompts instead of those conclusions. So the principal might ask, like, can you give me three guiding questions for my team to wrestle with? I think that's a really great use of the AI chat here. And the principal is also going to ensure that the output is used as a conversation starter and not as a decision maker. So our key points here is that the data is de-identified. You're seeing this theme come up quite a bit. AI is going to support the thinking, but not the judgment. And the final interpretation is going to happen with the humans in the room. So again, you can imagine how this is going to save you time, where you guys are going to be able to get to the crux of an issue and talk about that complex challenge, as opposed to sort of gathering all of the information or trying to make sense of it. Our third use case is around designing teacher practice for PD. I think there's a lot of strength here in all of the AI tools that we mentioned earlier. The scenario here is that a principal is leading professional learning segments on improving checks for understanding. They want realistic role play scenarios and they don't have time to write them from scratch. We've probably all been in this situation where we're trying to make PD really effective. AI tools are going to be your best friend when you're thinking about designing learning for adults. The principal is going to use chat to do a couple of things here. They're going to generate a short classroom scenario that everyone can look at and examine. They'll create a sample teacher script. They're going to provide a stronger revised version so that people can compare and contrast those. They're going to draft some reflection questions for teachers, and then they're going to adapt the scenario to fit their school context. Very powerful way to organize adult learning. Now, again, our key things to keep in mind are guardrails here. There's no teachers or students that are actually referenced in the scenario, right? So these scenarios are make believe. And AI is going to reduce the planning time, but not the instructional leadership piece, right? You have to maintain the instructional leadership. That is your power as a school leader. So it's going to help you reduce the planning time, but you still get to get out in front of teachers and make sure that we are practicing effectively and driving results. And finally, the principal is going to curate and facilitate the learning. So certainly we're not turning that over to the technology. You still have to stand in front of your staff, inspire and motivate them to get these results. So already we've looked at these three use cases. I want to now pivot over to what strong versus weak prompts might look like. This is going to help you get closer to refining your practice. Before we do that, though, following up on some key elements in our use cases, remember drafting, not decisions, de-identify information, human review is always required, and it's going to support your leadership work. It's not going to replace it. Let's dig into some differences on prompts. So if I were going to work on our parent communication, I would think about how to set up my prompt to get the output I'm actually looking for. My original request might sound something like write an email to a parent about attendance. Now, if I put that in, I'm going to get a result, but it might not be the actual result that I want. So I need to have a dialogue with my chatbot to refine it over time. I'm going to revise my request. I'm going to tell my chatbot to act as a school principal, to draft a concise, warm, and partnership-oriented email to a parent about a student who has missed 8 days in the past 3 weeks. I'm going to tell it my goals. My goal here is to express care, to explain the learning impact in plain language, so free from jargon, and invite a short call to collaborate with the parent about how we can solve this problem. I'm going to specify the tone. The tone should be supportive and non-accusatory. And I want my length to be under 150 words, so keep it very concise. Now, the difference between my two prompts here is that the second one specifies our role, our audience, our goal, our tone, and our constraints. So the output really matches my intent. And I think that this revision is going to actually help you get to a better product here. Let's look at another example. This is around a staff announcement. The original request is to write a message to staff about testing. You can do that. And again, you might not get exactly what you want from this. And so let's revise our request. Let's tell our chatbot that you're a principal of a school and you're writing to teachers about an upcoming state testing that's happening. You want to draft a clear, calm staff message that explains the schedule, the expectations, and the available supports. Your tone should be appreciative and steady, and your format should be a short email with bullets. Now, what's going to strengthen this is you're going to add some attachments to it. So maybe it's a testing schedule, maybe it's previous communications that provide some context here. But this outline plus some attachments is going to give you a really good output. The strength on this is that it removes ambiguity and prevents overly formal or anxious tones when we're talking about like a high stakes thing that teachers can get nervous about because they want to do it well, and testing can certainly provoke some anxiety in us. We're going to look at another one around data summary. So an original request might sound something like summarize our assessment data. Now you'd want to upload some assessment data there, and it might spit something back out at you, but I want to challenge you to revise your request to make it more specific. That might sound like I'm preparing for leadership, our weekly leadership team huddle. Please summarize this information that's attached using neutral language, identify patterns only, note where data is unclear, and generate 3 discussion questions. Don't infer causes or solutions. So again, I've strengthened my prompt here. I've specified the things that I want. I've protected against overinterpretation, and I keep the humans responsible for making meaning of this scenario here. So again, you can see the contrast between a weak prompt and a strong prompt. Let's do one more. This is around our meeting agenda. Our original request was make a staff meeting agenda. Again, very basic. Let's revise that request. Let's challenge ourselves to be more specific here. Create a tight 60-minute staff meeting agenda focused on strengthening tier one instruction. Include a 5-minute welcome, a 10-minute celebration, 20 minutes for PD on lesson internalization, 20 minutes for grade level collaboration with clear output, and a 5-minute close. And I want this formatted in a table. So again, I am revising this to provide time constraints and formats so that I can get a usable agenda instead of a generic list. So I've completely strengthened the request. I've given it these time buckets that it can help me organize this flow of the staff meeting, and I'm going to feel really good that I can then print out this table and send it along to the staff so they know it's coming. In each one of these scenarios, I've gone from an original request to a revised request, and I think what this takes is some practice over time. I think you will, as you dig into these tools, become stronger and stronger because you will know what you're looking for. And each of these prompts you can copy and paste for yourself and see how they help you. And I'm certain that there are ways that you can refine these to make them even stronger. Now, I get to work with a lot of schools. Oh, we have one more example here. Let's do the teacher feedback because I think this is important. So, original request is give feedback to a teacher. Not helpful, right? Like the teacher is going to need meaningful feedback. The chat bot's also going to need to know like what kind of feedback and what's it relevant for. So, here's how we revise the request. You are an instructional leader drafting feedback after a 10-minute walkthrough observation in a sixth grade ELA class. Provide two specific strengths, one actionable next step related to checks for understanding, and a suggested support. Please make sure your tone is respectful, specific, growth oriented, and make sure it's no longer than 150 words. So, our strengths here are around keeping our feedback concrete, ethical, and aligned to coaching best practices. I see this as saving a lot of instructional coach time, and it's also going to help over time as you get more and more observations under your belt. The chatbot's going to be able to help you make sense of patterns and trends over, a dozen or 2 dozen observations over the course of the year. So I think the key point here is that if the output feels generic, then the prompt was too vague, right? So we saw that in each of the original requests, and we saw how the revised information was just more clear and more helpful. I've even seen school leaders who have provided all those specifications and then told the chatbot what it didn't want. And so I think as you dialogue with your chatbots, just be really clear about what you do want and what you don't want, and it's going to help you get closer to the output that you ultimately desire. I get to work with school leaders all over the country and have been over the past couple of months working with them on using AI to support their work. And here's what we hear. A lot of times we hear that the outputs are really generic. Some school leaders don't trust the accuracy of the dialogue. We often hear we don't have time to learn a new thing, right? You're already under serious time constraints, and people feel like this is a big learning curve. And then there's some genuine concerns around doing it wrong because people don't want to wade into this area where they could get themselves in ethical or legal trouble, which I'm totally sensitive to and can completely understand. Some ways that we've responded to that is that, we just ask people to start with one recurring task. So that's what's one thing from your weekly schedule. If you were looking at your Outlook or Google calendars, like what's one thing that is currently taking up 120 minutes that could take up 30 minutes and start there. We also have learned that saving strong prompts as templates can really be effective. And so that can allow you to have a bank of things that you can recall each time. So that can be a time saver to get started as well. And then I think, people get to the place where they're exhausted and they don't want to learn a new thing. And so we are challenging folks to use AI before they get to the point of exhaustion because it's going to help get them to the finish line without collapsing. And then treat AI as a thought partner and not a shortcut. I think that's really key is, there's not a world where you're going to be able to go from, a 5 day week to a 3 day week. Like there's no shortcuts here, you guys. Like we still got to spend every minute with our kids, like helping them read and helping them learn. But we can become better at it because we've got a coach and an AI tool that's helping us do some sense making. So that's what we've heard, and that's where we support folks. And we're going to provide some tools that I'll reference here at the end of our session that will help you get started with these things. So when you think about getting started, I think the key place to begin is selecting one tool. And the best way to select that tool is to figure out like what environment do you currently work in? Is it Microsoft? Is it Google? Is it some other platform that already has a tool? So think there. If you if you don't have any of those sort of dynamics happening, then certainly starting with ChatGPT is okay. But just pick a tool and run with it. Then select one task. So we've got one tool, now pick one task. Is that parent communication? Is it staff meetings? Is it adult learning? We've provided a couple of use case scenarios that I think can be helpful for you here. So just pick one of those and start working there. Schedule yourself 10 minutes. That's all it's going to take to get started. Use that 10 minutes, start a dialogue with your chat bot, and see how that discourse can really help you improve the outcomes that you want. And then once you've gone through that cycle, look for one more opportunity. So maybe you've practiced with parent communication over the past month, and you've gotten really good at that. Now maybe you're ready to move toward your staff meetings, or your teacher feedback or whatever that next phase is for you. And so then pick that opportunity at that time. There's no problem with starting small here, and maximizing that and then capitalizing on your growth to do something better. So we've included in the course pack here, we've included two things that I think will be really helpful. The first is a resource pack. And so it sort of unpacks this session and it gives you additional context and additional information about the things that we've talked to in each of the sections here on the session. And the other thing that I think is really helpful is our 45-day implementation guide, which just sort of takes you through a series of weeks in successive order that will help you build your AI capacity over a month and a half. And I think that these things, if you're ready to get started, like this is going to help make that journey better. If you're already getting started, I would look back at the 45-day implementation guide and see like, have you missed something? Can you refine? Can you make things stronger? So we hope that these tools are helpful for you and that you get something out of them. We'd encourage you to share these tools with other folks who are looking to start their practice using AI tools and chatbots as well. As we close up here, just want to thank you for spending some time with us. If you'd like to connect, my email's here on the screen and our website's there as well. We're excited to continue supporting principals as you lead your schools and communities forward. As a former principal myself, I'm so grateful for the work that you do with our kids in the state of Texas. And I think what we are doing as a charter school community in our state is special. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and thank you for serving our students and families across the Lone Star State. Laurel, I'm going to kick it back over to you to close us out. And thanks for the opportunity to be here with everybody today.
Yes, thank you so much. I am personally looking forward to looking through that 45-day implementation guide
Yeah,
because many of the points that you mentioned in this felt right on the nose for me. I'm using
great.
Chat GPT. I've created a prompt that's giving me consistently good results, and I feel like now I'll be able to take this to the next level thanks to you. So
Awesome.
I really
Glad to help.
appreciated this.
Good, good.
All right. So, for anyone watching here, we hope you take advantage of these steps and these tools and check out the resources. Again, don't forget to fill out your survey for this webinar and then also the quiz questions. So that way you get your certificate for watching this webinar. And with that, again, a huge thank you to Jeremy for taking time out of his very busy schedule to talk to us about this very relevant and important topic. And I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. Thanks again.